Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. I am your host, Kelly Meehan, Spirit Baby Medium, Medical Intuitive, and Mentor. I believe we are entering into a new psychic structure of our reality that embodies deeper trust, self-love, and fearless integrity. Our New World energy needs us all to make space for it, so we can support consciously conceiving parents, true intuitive pregnancies, and trusting the nature of birthing babies upon our lands with co-creation of heart. I thank you personally for tuning into all things spiritual and earth grounding, conversations that support each other and teach us to be open, free, and thrive within autonomous living and with the spark of wisdom. This is Spirit Baby Radio. Welcome to episode 159, February 17th, 2023, Psychic Motherhood and Parenting into the Fifth Dimensional Living. How are you living your best life? What deeply psychic energy are you allowing into your parenting style? What does fifth dimensional living mean? How are you open to expanding with your child or children? I have a special guest episode. It's Erin. Hello.
Hey, hello.
I'm going to read her beautiful bio here. Erin, the urban mermaid, is a fifth dimensional soul guide and modern mystic. She is here to guide souls on spiritual and healing journeys back to their divine essence through sacred esoteric, holistic healing and intuition. Erin is a psychic medium, devoted tarot reader, practicing astrologer, UC Reiki master, advanced theta healer, and published writer. Her most popular healing transcendence is known as Empress Ascension, and she also hosts Let's Talk Tarot annually. Erin was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and resides in San Diego with her partner Ryan and their three sons, Bryson, Christian, and Liam. I hope I succeeded on that bio.
You did great.
Thank you, Erin, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is so fun because I don't even know how we connected. I always talk about the connection that we have, and
I
just
think
Instagram.
Yeah, I think I found you because a couple years ago, I went deep into Spirit Babies. And I read that book, Spirit Babies by Walter Mackion. And, I just, part of it was to expand on my own practice and my own intuition. And a lot of Spirit Babies come up in readings for me, for other people. So I felt like I needed more information on it. And I don't know whether it was a hashtag I found you through or a recommendation, but I did find you and started following you for your guidance as well. And then I have your deck.
Oh, yay. Yes. And that's the thing. I love that about Spirit Baby. You are a psychic medium. So baby's going to come. Hey, what's going on? And I love this. So everybody knows they can't see this, but baby Liam he's here. You hear him a little cooing in the background. He's having a good time. He's all milk fed.
Yeah, he's teething right now.
Oh boy, working on that teething. And I saw his pictures too coming up on Instagram, and I was like, oh, look at this little magical being. And I have to say, and I'm totally serious here, your pictures of you pregnant on the beach in that dress is literally the most gorgeous pregnancy photo shoot I've ever seen. And I know that, not to insult anybody else, but I was just staring at it like, wow. And I think it's just so gorgeous to really embody that time, right? It's such a it doesn't last very long, and to be able to be the empress, the goddess.
Well, I did not expect the pictures to come out so beautiful either. So when my friend of mine does my photography, she's amazing. She asked me to do a shoot with her for maternity to kind of expand her book, and she has a client wardrobe that she wants being shown. And I was like, of course, I wasn't going to do maternity photos, and then she convinced me to do them. It was not hard. And I was 37 weeks there. I ended up having Liam a week later.
Wow.
And I went there, and we're gallivanting on the beach in Coronado, and we're going into the water, and I felt very pregnant at that point. I will say, I left that, my body was hurting. I'm like, oh, I need a bath.
Wow.
But I'm so grateful she taught. I used to never be a person who did all the photography stuff with the kids and stuff. I thought it was kind of lame, but I did some with her, and with her encouragement, she's like, you want to capture these special moments
Mm.
with your kids. They're so fleeting. And I was like, you know what? You are right. So I'm very glad I did it.
Yeah, it's so true. And I love this, like there's we talked, of course we talked
Mm,
before about
right.
astrology and healing and East Coast, and
Mm,
there's so many things that you offer really in this kind of spiritual energetic space for, mothers, for
yeah.
non-mothers, even just for
Yeah.
everybody maybe. You see men too, right?
Yeah, I do. I don't have as big of a male clientele,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they're coming around. I'll put it that
Yeah.
way.
And I
The
yeah.
men that come to me are usually pretty in touch with their divine
Mm-hmm.
feminine, or at least have the balance there. Um, and I mean, that's what we need. We need more men to be integrating that. So I do see men, but it is primarily women. And yeah, a good chunk are mothers, because motherhood is very much a part of my journey, and I do share it. My children are unique kids with unique gifts.
Mm.
Um, and I know that other parents have unique kids too. So if I can also help on in that way, guide that way, I will do it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I see men too, but you're right. I like how you said that. It's like a male that's in touch with their divine feminine, because it is
Mhm.
a very specific connection. And I've had throughout the years couples,
Mhm.
and sometimes I actually had a few say, my husband's going to come by himself. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I always say, make sure they want to be there.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
send, I won't do anything with anybody if they're being forced into it,
Right. Right. I
because it's a
agree.
weird energy. And then
It
like, oh no,
is.
they want to be there. And I know that from that father male energy, it's a different conversation, it's a different connection. And yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they
so
have to be open to it.
yeah. So I love this like psychic motherhood. And
Mhm.
I'd say about 12 years now, more than maybe about 12 years ago, a little over, when I was pregnant with my
Mhm.
firstborn, who just turned 12, like, back in the beginning of
Crazy.
February. I know,
Yeah.
it's wild. And so I wrote an article, a blog about clairvoyant pregnancy, I think it was
Mhm.
called, back when I blogged for like a moment.
Right.
And it makes me want to jump into this conversation because I
Mhm.
don't talk to a lot of psychic mediums about their own pregnancy. And
Mhm.
and I know it's very different for sure.
Yeah.
And so when you were, let's talk about whatever you have any stories about being pregnant
Yeah. Well,
and communication. Yeah.
this last pregnancy for sure was the most psychic and opening of all of them. Um, my dreams are always pretty vivid, to say the least. And it's very true that women who are pregnant are more open and intuitive.
Mm,
So if you can tap into that, you can really bring yourself up to a different level. For me, a lot of stuff happens in my dreams. It's always been like that, but it's beyond a psychic experience. I feel it's a quantum one. I
mm,
feel I am literally living a different life, or living out a different timeline, or observing another one in my sleep. Was not very restful, I'll tell you that much.
mm,
But it really, really amplified things. And I would be in places, I knew I would be back home in Brooklyn in my dreams. I had dreams where I was on Flatbush Avenue and people were selling mangoes out of their crates. It was just what it was so vivid. And people say you don't remember your dreams. I would wake up and know exactly where I was, what happened, who I saw, who I was with, and I would be like, okay, what's the message here? Because the thing
mm,
about dreams, I think people take things very literally in them.
mm-hmm,
And it's a very fluid state. So it's more about looking for the messages or looking for the symbols, and what are you supposed to take from that. So I definitely had that very heightened during this pregnancy was the most. I don't know, maybe it gets stronger every pregnancy. But I will say with my middle son Christian and with Liam, I knew exactly when they were coming. um I got better at tuning into my body.
mm,
um your first time around is hard.
mm-hmm,
There's no precedent and there's nothing anybody can tell you
Mm-hmm.
that can give you a knowing until you experience it. So with my son Christian, he was born 10 days early, right? And their due date was a little sketchy with him anyway, because I had gotten pregnant with him while I was still breastfeeding my other son, and I didn't even have a cycle back. So it was that due date was a little to me. So at my 38-week appointment, she checked me and she was like, okay, he's low, but he's not dilated. And I was like, oh boy, this baby's coming. And she's like, you'll see, you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Tell everyone. I'm like, listen, the baby's coming this weekend, so I'm gonna need everyone to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
2:22 that night, I woke up from contractions, and Christian was born at 10:31 in the morning the next day.
Wow.
I knew he was coming. I just knew it. Liam, I knew down to like, I was just so tapped in, and I wrapped up my business stuff the weekend before he was born. It was like August 21st, 22nd. I wanted to make sure I tied up loose ends, and everyone got readings they needed, and any rituals I was doing for people got done, feedback reports. I do moon readings for people. I just wanted to make sure that everyone got got what they paid for, we'll put it that way. And I said to myself, this baby is coming this week. And I tapped into my guides and I was like, all right, is he going to be a Mercury baby? So Wednesday is the Mercury day of the week. And I felt them be like, he could be, he could be.
Mm-hmm.
So then I said, is he going to be a Jupiter baby? That's Thursday. And I got a very solid yes. Wednesday, I told my family we were going out to dinner to this Italian place because the New Yorker and me misses good Italian food.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're going there. I was having some strange pains, down below that day, but nothing too alarming. As I'm driving to the restaurant, it starts kicking in and I'm like, oh, this baby's coming. So we get to the restaurant and I can't even stand up. I have my legs crossed. I am like, oh boy. But I had to have this Italian food. I had to. And not only did I have to have it, I had to hunch over next door to the deli and get pizza dough and ice cream, because I was like, I'm not leaving without it. And my partner is like, Erin, what if your water breaks? What if the baby comes? And I'm like, no, I just want to get the pizza dough. So I did start having contractions that night, but they were very irregular. The other difference with this pregnancy is I went into it knowing I was going to have a natural birth, and that's what I wanted. I did have medicated ones previously. If I could go back and change that, I would.
Yeah.
What a difference. So the labor was spotty until about, I don't know, that morning, maybe like mid-morning, and I lost my mucus plug, and I was like, okay, the baby's coming. And my partner again, he's like, so when do you think, like this weekend? I'm like, no, today. We're having the baby today. So and then I just pretty much felt. That's all I did. I was like, we just got to feel this out. I listened to my partner took my kids to my in-laws, so I got some peace and quiet, and I just had my crystals around me. I was listening to relaxing music. I made sure I ate. Something. I bounced on my yoga ball for a while if that felt good. I took several baths. I did my hair. And then around 3 p.m., I went into like active labor, and I called my midwife, and she was, they cracked me up though. She was like, okay, so, if you're ready, you could drive up to La Jolla. Maybe you guys want to walk around. And I was like, lady, I can't walk around. I'm like, we're having the baby. So it really intensified. I think we left our house at about 4, really intensified on the drive up to La Jolla where I gave birth. I couldn't believe my husband was able to drive through that. we got to the emergency room, and I was really close. Like, I can't remember the timing apart. And the guy who comes to get me is like, okay, how far apart are your contractions? And I tell him, he's like, okay, first kid. I'm like, no, it's my third. He's like, get her
Oh my God.
upstairs. And yeah, I was maybe up there for like 45 minutes with them doing intake on me. I was supposed to give birth at the birthing center, but it was closed for some reason. So I did go all natural, but it was in the hospital. And then I broke my water, and he was out in like 3 pushes. And
Wow.
as intense as those contractions were, pushing him out was not as bad as I thought it would be. He came out perfect head, perfect size. He latched right away. It was just such a difference in my recovery. Oh my goodness, this was the hardest pregnancy, but everything I did added up to such a better recovery, like all the yoga and the chiropractic, and I did acupuncture this pregnancy. Whoops. Sorry, the baby knocked my headphones out. And so it really made a difference in the recovery, and it also made me realize how over medicated I was in my previous births. So, and baby Liam was born on August 25th at 7:21 p.m. He is a Virgo sun, a Leo moon, and a Pisces rising.
I love it. Look at you. You're the astrologer. So there's a few things that you said. First of all, I totally feel you with that. I need my Italian food, and growing up in Jersey,
yeah.
I'm always trying to find the best Italian food in the West Coast, and nothing has ever, nothing.
It
I'm
doesn't.
just over it. I'm just over it, right?
Yeah.
And so I totally feel,
yeah.
And I thought that's really cute. You're like, nope, I'm gonna have the baby. Maybe I'll have it in the pizza parlor or the Italian restaurant.
Sure.
I need
Why
my
not?
food.
Why
But
not?
your attunement to the journey too. It's like, again, that my curiosity with more of that psychic energy, it's like you were really on the mark with a lot, like the baby's coming, this and that, which I think is very empowering. And I want to kind of just even, like reflect on that for those that are tuning in, that you don't have to be a psychic medium to have that connection. Because I know
No.
that some women, there's such a disempowerment in our culture, and I know you know this, around just maternity care and this emergency, this disease. And I know a lot of your work, it's like helping women come back to that more intuitive psychic space within us, especially when we move into pregnancy.
Yeah.
And you shared even about dreams, and I was like, really fascinating, because people do really take dreams very literal. And
Yeah.
it's a very tricky place. And most people ask me, I don't do dream is not my specialty. But I tell people, what do you feel like when you have that dream, or what is it?
Right.
And I'm like, go based on the feeling and see, instead of the story that comes up, and see if that helps. But you reminded me when you were sharing that of like lucid dreaming. It's like in the sense of, which by the way, I've only experienced like 3 times in my life, honestly. And to the point, I actually a few months ago was walking around my living room. Doesn't seem very exciting.
Well.
And I was like, I'm dreaming right now, and I'm walking around, and I'm a coherent person. I was so excited about that. And then I woke up going, I walked around the room last night. It sounds so strange, but it really changed and excited my energy, because it's something, that I don't ever really experience. But that would be fun, to lucid dream and travel the world.
Absolutely, it would.
And I know a lot of people are nighttime travelers, and it's a real thing. It's not
It
even
is.
it's not even a fake thing in our heads. We can't even make it fake.
It's so real that
yeah.
Occasionally I'll get readings from people, like people who I feel I can trust in my energy space. I've gotten readings from you, and it always comes up. They're like, you astro travel in your sleep and you don't get good rest. And I'm like, yes, how do I fix that? And they're really, everything I've tried really does not help. So it's just must be a part of what I'm supposed to experience.
I know, and that's hard, because I've seen that with other people that are deep in the healing arts, and just are like really struggling with this, this in between energy of where our multidimensionalness, of course. And it's like, we can't put mental logic into something that's beyond that.
No, no.
And so it's good that you kept trying, you keep trying to go,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
let me
like,
see,
it
because sleep is so important. We were talking about that
is.
earlier. I
It
mean,
is.
especially for a mother
It
nursing and
is.
baby, I realized that with my firstborn that I think a lot of the struggle was the lack of sleep in my
Yes.
nervous system, in my immune
Yes.
system.
Oh my goodness.
I got a
Yes.
lot of sickness, like sicknesses that you don't get, like strep throat and
Yeah.
mastitis. And I'm like, what is
Yeah.
wrong with me? And that sleep is where our inflammatory cortisol response really works. And we need to, so it sounds like your self-care is probably extra, extra, which is great.
Yeah. I mean, I try to be for as much as I can for a mom of three and someone who's a business
Yeah,
owner.
exactly.
I've really had to create a lot of boundaries with things.
Yes.
Like here's the other thing about me. I have a Virgo moon and I truly love what I do in my business. It took me years to figure this
Mm,
out and put this together, and I built it from the ground up. And the people I service are more than clients, they're connections and their
mm,
soul family. So I enjoy being there for them and I enjoy
mm.
talking to them and I enjoy connecting with them. But I have to set boundaries on stuff like that because I will work myself into, you know, whatever, instead of taking the time and being present and enjoying that thing. So I had to make a boundary recently, like no working on the weekends, even if you think you're behind on it.
Yeah.
The weekends need to be like truly devoted to your family and whatever else we're doing. Um, so it, yeah.
No, and I feel
That
like
just,
you're
yeah.
saying something I've seen before, even with other healers and therapists and counselors, like, oh, I got to get back. And I'm going, you have, like, my one friend, I'm like, you have a third child now. And I go,
Yeah.
you're allowed to like take a break and really kind of enjoy and be in life. And I think
Yeah.
it's great that you're like, okay, well, the weekends, and I know it's very tempting because I feel that I'm like you, I built from the ground up too.
Yeah.
And we're just always on, we're just always on.
Yeah.
But
And
it
your
doesn't
your business
mean,
is like a baby to
yeah,
you too, or a
yeah,
child,
it
because
is.
it's been with you and you've nourished it and you've
Yeah.
created something. The thing is with the people I service on the regular, it's they understand. I wouldn't have clients who would give me shit for having the three
Yes.
kids because it's not an excuse. This is life.
Yes.
This is life and this is just the way the things are woven in. My business is woven in with motherhood. This is the real me that I present. I share what goes on here because I know that other people need a guide to go, they're going through it as well. I always
Yeah.
say I wish I had a me
Oh,
during my spiritual awakening, during my dark night of the soul, during my pregnancies. So I said, then you know what? If I need a me, other people need a me.
I love
So
that.
you need so that's kind of where all of this came together.
Yeah. This is where again, I feel like we have a lot of similarities because this is why I added mentor to my title,
Yeah.
because I knew little me,
Yep.
where are all the empaths and how do I do this thing?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, am I
Exactly.
clairvoyant, clairsentient,
Hmm.
claircognizant? What does that
Yeah.
mean? And I really struggled I mean, when I moved to California, I especially was just jumping into every new age group you could imagine. And
Yeah.
I kept leaving them. I would dip my toes in. I didn't like it. Dip my toes and didn't like it. I'm like,
Yeah. I
and then I'm
mean,
like, okay, I guess I'm meant to be my own thing. And then now,
yeah.
like you, I like that the me's because there
Hmm.
are so many people awakening in so many different
Yeah.
levels, and it can be very frightening or scary or,
Or overwhelming, or they don't know
yeah.
what to do with it. Or, for a long time, there was a fear or a block around sharing gifts. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I don't want other people to feel that too. I feel we all have unique gifts.
Yeah.
Bless you, bud. We all have these gifts and we have them for a reason, and it is to be shared. So
Yeah.
to help foster that and walk them through that as well.
I love that. And I want to shift the conversation a little bit. There's so
Mhm.
much we could
Okay.
like talk for hours
I
here.
know.
I just want to share, I'm looking out my window and I saw two hawks, two, by the way.
Ooh.
I know. I'm like, oh, what is that about? I'm so curious, and they're so big, but not, there's hawks here, but I haven't seen them in a while.
Interesting.
But I want to like go into the kind of the term like fifth dimensional living. Like some people may be
Yeah,
like, I don't know what that means. Like,
right.
how do you define it? Because I feel like I don't, I feel like it's defined differently, and I'm sure there's just
Yeah.
one definition, but it depends on the person.
Yeah, I
What is,
mean,
because it's on your
I,
website and you
yeah,
talk about like,
I
what does
think
that mean?
we all have our own definition.
Yeah,
I don't love that I feel like it's starting to get a little commercialized,
yeah.
but I feel everything does eventually. Um, so, you know, fifth dimension is a level of our consciousness, right? And there's levels above and there's levels beyond. But fifth dimensional, I feel, is the space that we can get to while we're still here in the physical. And it's a space where you know, we're in unity consciousness, and we've broken through the shadows of the ego. The ego gets a very bad rap, but you have to take it for what it is, that at some point you were in your ego because you were in fight or flight and it was protecting you.
Mm,
So the shadows of the ego are the more, you know, power, control, that kind of stuff, that there's no space for that really when it comes to being in higher consciousness.
mm,
There's more discernment over judgment. There's coming from love, coming from compassion was something I really had to learn. And I know that sounds crazy, but um uh you know learning that not everything is about you. I
mm,
can't tell you how many people I have to drill that one into. Or, learning that the only validation you're ever going to need in your life is from yourself, and to stop
mm,
seeking it outside of yourself. This is really embodying self-awareness, your
mm,
shadows, your strengths, your weaknesses, whatever you want to call it. And this is a lot of surrendering to the divine, surrendering to, whatever your journey is, just knowing that you're there and all you have to do is show up and be present. Um, it's a space of inner peace, and a lot more calm. Most people I work with, I would say, is in the fourth dimension, where they have one foot dipping slowly into the healing pool and the spiritual
mhm,
pool or whatever, but they're still stuck in some certain
mm,
third dimensional tendencies. And the thing is, it's no one's fault. This world conditioned us.
mhm,
This world, has brought on things, like made us scared of things, has brought on fear mongering, has taught us to worship stupid Hollywood people who are pushing agendas.
mhm,
It's taught us that to look outside of ourselves. And in the fifth dimension, we know everything we need is within us.
mm.
So it,
I,
it's it,
yeah,
it, it it's helping them at least get out of that 3D mode where they're in fear all the time.
I love your definition. I mean that
Thanks.
that's a different again because yeah, you hear it or people may think like, oh, like you said, is it a used word a lot? And
Mhm.
I think you broke it down really nicely. And how, even how I would look at that is that everybody is toned to a certain frequency, right? It's like
Mhm.
you're not saying one is better than the other, but when we're
No.
stuck in our enslaved self or our belief
Right.
systems, they're so
Right.
real. And
Right.
yeah, we can't like, people have to come into that own self-awareness on their own and go, wait a second, this is where I love the time we're in, like start to question things deeply. Like, wait a
Yes.
minute, what are you saying? I
Yes.
don't want to do that. I don't want to be a part of that. This is the
Right.
life I want to live. And
Right.
and that could be scary for people that are very bought in or very much
It
in a
is.
in a level where it's like, oh, but the fear has some kind of safety, not consciously, of
Yes.
course.
But in the 5D, there's sovereignty,
Yeah.
true sovereignty, soul sovereignty, self sovereignty, you know, sovereignty from the government or whoever you want to call these people,
Yeah.
because we know that we're the ones who know best. There's no need to look
Yeah.
outside ourselves.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a whole podcast on that conversation. But it
Yeah.
is true. It's a
But
big deal. We are in a time. And even in the next years to come, where we do have to really step into our own heart space
Hmm.
and really own it and be a part of it. And it's not
Hmm.
perfect. It could
Right.
be, it can even be full of past wounds. It's like,
Hmm.
that's okay. And I think people tend to
Yeah.
go, well, if my wounds are healed, then maybe dot, dot, dot. And it's like, you can have traumas that maybe aren't activated, that aren't
Absolutely.
taking
That
all your
pop,
energy.
right. That pop up because you've been triggered by something new that came up,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
it's like, that's okay.
And the thing about healing, are we healed? No, we're on a journey to do this, you know? And it's going to
Mhm.
continue for our whole lives. And it's going to continue. And then we're going to see where we're at when we get to the other side. And then how we come back, I feel, how much did we resolve and how much were we able to work through?
Yeah, I even imagine a world in this lifetime where we'll evolve through whatever the healing is that we need. But
Mhm.
that's beyond fifth dimensional living. I don't know.
Yeah.
Where like I see this reality and this awareness and connection. I'm going, okay, it's gonna come, but am I gonna be here? Is it not? But I do feel
Right.
the healing journey definitely can really take us into different levels and then,
Hmm.
and building upon that. And so
Yeah. Healing is it's not, I don't want to say healing is not for the weak, but it's really someone who's got to be ready to take look at that proverbial mirror and ready to go deep with themselves. And it's not always pretty, and it's definitely not easy.
oh yeah, I remember I've met those places
Oh
a
yeah.
long time ago, and I remember at one point I was like, wait, I have to heal that part of my story. I was like,
Hmm.
maybe I'll exit. I really was. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I'm done
not
here.
not that I would not that I would do anything harm to myself, but I was like, oh, but I could see. I'm like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well,
And then I vulnerably jumped in with with a healer that really was safe and
hmm.
nourished me and had a very beautiful like angelic energy that I was able to go deeper with. And that's a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah. Well, finding those people, I would
Yeah.
say, it makes the world of difference with this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think now in return, as we talked about earlier, to be of service as that mentor, to expand
Yes.
the energy, to like, I feel like every human I'm interacting with, even beyond my work, is just a part of my heart. I should
That's
say it like
beautiful.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was hard for me to get there as an empath with
Yeah.
dysregulated nervous system from my
Yeah.
old traumas. And I
Hmm.
was living like that. Like most
Hmm.
people are living in high dysregulation.
Oh,
And then like
absolutely.
I kind of knew something was off, but didn't really. And then when I started to move into re-regulation with actually a lot of internal and external support, I was like, wow, is this me? Oh my God,
Right.
what was I missing out on? Wow.
Right.
So
Right.
intense, really, but it
Right.
took me many, many years. It wasn't overnight.
Yeah,
But
that's the other thing. I think
yeah.
we're also programmed to think instant gratification,
Oh yes.
if it doesn't happen right away, it's not working. If I can't see it physically, it's not real. So
Yeah.
that's also very third dimensional concepts.
Yeah, and that never makes sense to me, and probably not to you. It's like,
No,
what?
it
Like,
doesn't. Yeah.
I think we need to, for me, I'm like, we need to mature on to being like, we have
Yeah.
experiences. Like, I'm sure you do. I have a lot, especially in the past few years, a lot of experiences that literally have no logic behind it, but they
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
And I share some of my stories more publicly, and then people are like, "Yeah, what do you even say about that?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's no words for it because energy is energy, and like you
Yeah.
said, it's like we're in connection with different, experiences and stories, but we don't always have to overthink it either,
Yeah,
right? It's like
exactly.
don't have to figure it out."
Just allow. Just allow.
Yeah. And so there's so many things I want to talk a little bit about astrology, and
Sure.
it's something I feel like you're definitely the expert. And we talked earlier and I was like, wow, the way that Erin put it into words, I was like, oh, I understand it, because for me, like it's like math,
Yeah.
Spanish, like that
Yeah.
astrology, and it's very confusing. And I had someone do it like so many years ago that I don't even remember anything because it was so
Right.
giving me papers, and I'm just like, I
Yeah.
don't even know what's happening. And so I'm like
Yeah.
excited to connect with you after about that. And like, yeah, what
Right.
does
Well,
this
if
look like?
someone just hands you a natal wheel that has a bunch of symbols on
Yeah.
it, you're gonna be like, what the hell is this? It
Yeah.
looks like, yeah, it does. It looks like a graph from math in high school
Yeah.
or
And then my
something.
brain shuts down.
Yeah.
Oh, what is this? I'm
Yeah.
shutting down. I can't even
Yeah. So
articulate it.
when people come to me for birth chart readings, I do provide the chart because I want them to see it, but
Yeah.
I go into explaining all of it, and that's where the channeled messages come in,
Oh, nice.
like with automatic writing and all of that. And astrology is just, I was always interested in astrology, but as I awoken and as my gifts reblossomed,
Mm.
astrology became a love language to me to make things
Hmm.
make sense, and it's not like that for everybody, and that's fine. But if I am talking to you and I'm like, okay, what's your moon sign? Because your moon sign is like your emotions. How do you process
Mm.
your emotions? It's almost more important to know that about a person than their sun sign, because their sun sign is only important to them because it's their personality and who they're trying to become. So if you know someone's moon sign, you can understand them on an emotional level. But you wouldn't know that unless
Yeah,
you got into this
I
stuff.
have to say, I'm gonna cut you off, but
Uh-huh.
something in my spirit baby sessions with people has really shifted. And I would even say in the past 8 months that suddenly
Uh-huh.
babies are sharing moon signs with me, and I have no idea what to do with that.
Oh,
But
okay.
now when you say that, because I'm going, does this mean you're going to conceive on this crescent moon, this full moon? Does it mean
Uh-huh.
that it's pregnancy? And I try not to give people know I don't give like hard factual dates. I don't work that way because I
I
do
don't
feel
work
like
that way
some
either.
people do. Some people do.
Some people do, but then I really don't understand how, because time is not linear.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
especially with spirit babies, I think I
Yeah,
feel like I know better than anybody. It's on their time and
yeah.
not ours. So yeah, I know. I've met I actually read someone yesterday who said someone told him something was going to happen in like 2 years, and I'm like, well, I don't know why she said that to you, because
Yeah, like
that's
yeah.
one timeline of things that could happen.
Yeah, and 2 years is a lot of energy change. And that's the
Yeah.
thing is, but it's true. It's like, and I've always found like for me personally, I'm like, I think I'm hard to read because I do feel like I live in that
Uh-huh.
timeline of energy where I'm going, well, what are they gonna say? Does it really, can I change the timeline anyways?
Right.
Like what,
You
I
might be
don't know.
well,
Yeah.
you might be so fluid that it's hard
Yeah,
to like ground into you.
I
But
think so.
but if you're open, I mean, yes and no. Yes and no.
Because there are probably some things maybe in the immediate, right?
Yeah.
In the next
You
month,
might
but
even have people who are intimidated because you're a reader as well.
that
You
could
know
be
what I
true.
mean?
Because
And
I
you have
actually
such a niche.
when I see people, like if I don't really see
Uh-huh.
people because I want people not to know who I am, right?
Okay.
Well, yeah, because the
Interesting.
people know things about me already, then they have the preconceived notion.
Okay. Oh, I get what you're
Yeah, like
saying.
if they're like,
Okay,
oh, look,
gotcha.
she's a spirit baby.
Yeah, yeah,
There is an
yeah,
expectation. But I
yeah,
maybe I am really hard too. My energy could
yeah.
be really hard. Like, okay, give me something real. I want to
Well,
hear profoundness. Go ahead,
one
go.
one of the things I do, I feel in readings, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you say this to your clients as well, is it's not always what you want to come through that's going to come
Ah,
through.
good point.
It's the message that you're meant to have. Like I used to do
Mm.
little mini readings on my Instagram stories. I called them
Hmm.
Saturday story readings. And I had someone refer, sorry, the baby's pulling out the, okay. Refer someone to me for, it's one card. Listen, it's one card you're getting with a channeled message. So you're not getting a full reading here.
Mm.
So let's start with that. And if you're not familiar with this stuff, I don't know if I'm the right person to start with either.
Mm.
So I had someone refer someone to me, and she did a couple card readings, right? And she wasn't really, I wouldn't consider that a client or anything like that, but the other person is. And then the other person had mentioned to me that the girl said to her, like, she felt like my messages were not, one message nailed it, but the rest were just not what, I don't know if it was not what she wanted to hear,
Mm.
or, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to explain this to everyone. And I did a post about it.
Yeah.
I was like, as a psychic medium, I can't, it's not my opinion that's coming through.
Oh,
You
I love
know,
that. Yeah.
it's not, I don't know you. I don't have an opinion. I'm telling you what whoever is giving me this message. It could be your guides, it could be my guides, it could be a deity, it could be the divine. I don't know who's coming through or who's really giving me the message half the time. I mean, in full sessions I do, but I just know that this is the message I'm meant to deliver to you. If it's not what you wanted, I actually think you need to do some shadow work around that and see, why did you get this message instead? You know what I mean?
But it's true, because I've had people throughout the years, no, I don't, I like your little disclaimer of like, this is how,
Yeah.
yeah, because I think that most people know, like when you're coming into a space, yeah, what is of the highest best interest for your healing journey?
Yeah.
And so I've had women, like from a medical intuitive perspective, where I told them about their body organs or things
Uh-huh.
weren't working hormonally. And some of them were like, especially around the thyroid, there's a few that was like, no, Kelly, I just had them checked. I go, well, they're not checking them right. So
Right.
there you go. And
Right.
I only say that with a little snarkiness, because if if the message is so freaking strong, you're just
Yeah.
like, I can't, it's undeniable, like it's there. And if
Right.
it's maybe so weak and not that strong, and so what I do with women, I want to empower them in their body. So I said, just
Mm-hmm.
just be on these things. Look at your thyroid, check your levels, your hormones. You be the one that's proactive, even if the doctor, the clinician is like, oh, it seems okay, or
Right.
we checked it a year ago or something. And I go, energy changes so quickly. And I've had these
Yeah.
women email me literally like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, something's wrong with my thyroid. And I said, yeah, I know, I saw it in the
Yeah.
energy,
Like I
in the
told you.
energy before
Yeah.
the physical.
Yeah.
And so, and I
Well,
says, yeah. So then I'm like, well, so I totally feel you
yeah.
with
And
that.
my favorite thing to say about doctors are they are just practicing medicine,
I know, right? They do use the word practice, but
right?
we know that's a whole other podcast on
That
how
is
in the
one too.
medical
Yeah.
community, how everything is the empowerment of the external. And we put, well, I
Right.
think the pandemic has really shown people that we cannot worship people like that make
I
error and mistakes.
I hope it has.
You're like, yeah,
I hope it's
I'd like to
landed.
believe that. Yeah,
I hope it's landed.
I think
I
a lot of
feel
people,
a lot of
maybe.
people, yeah, I think people have really shifted their mindsets and many have awoken to at least question these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I love that. There's so many things. My mind is like running all these different astrology. Yeah, I love this
Yeah.
astrology where,
Well, there's even
what about baby?
astrology.
What about pregnancy
Yeah,
astrology?
so
Is
I
that a
was gonna
thing?
say, yes, there is. There are ways, there are specific things in your chart that can indicate babies, children. So for example,
Mm.
the fourth house is the house of family, and it's ruled by Cancer and the moon. So you can have a certain placement there that can, be indicative of motherhood or the kind of motherhood that you're meant to have, The fifth house is it's traditionally called the house of pleasure, but it's ruled by Leo and the sun. And that house also rules children.
Hmm.
So having certain placements there, even Saturn's our karma, can be indicative of children. Now, astrology goes very deep, and there's people
Hmm.
who follow it by the day that could
Oh,
even be
wow.
like, oh, you were meant to get pregnant this day because of this. Well, here's another good story with Liam. Okay. So the planets like Saturn, Jupiter, whatever, they're larger planets. They're called outer planets. And they every 12 years or so, with Jupiter, I believe it comes back to where it was at birth for you. So it's called your Jupiter return. And Jupiter is known to be very lucky. You know,
Hmm.
I'm ruled by Jupiter because I'm Sagittarius and I have a lot of Sagittarius placements. So my Jupiter return was 2021. To the day it ended, like down to the day I got
Hmm.
pregnant with him.
Wow.
Because Jupiter's return leaves a gift for you. And a gift
Hmm.
is usually abundance.
Hmm.
Babies are an abundance gift. So that, and then there's aspects of the moon called nodes, your north node and your south node. Your north node is kind of like your destiny and your fate and your path, this life of what you're supposed to lean into. Your south node is about past lives, you know, kind of who you've been and what's culminated, and you bring that into this life, and you're very comfortable there. So you have natural gifts there, but you're meant to shed this stuff and lean more into the north node. So every, I want to say 10 years or so, you have a nodal return. And it's about a lot of your karma and a lot of your fate and a lot of your destiny coming to fruition. And that same that same time, the nodes were switching to my nodes. So it was very destined, they, you know, to have this baby. I would also, I don't really follow Eastern, like Chinese astrology, but I was also coming out of my lunar return, you know, every year, like the ox, the rabbit, whatever.
Oh yeah.
It was also the year of the ox, and that's also supposed to bring you luck and abundance.
That's right.
So,
So this is my year. I'm the rabbit.
oh, good. So
And my son is a
the thing
rabbit too.
I will say is I don't feel like the gifts or the luck happens when you're there. I feel it happens after, you know? So all of these things happened. And the funny thing about Liam, well, we didn't really try for any of my kids, but I was super sick in November before we conceived him. I had, you know, the dreaded C.
Oh.
And then I was in New York for a wedding. And it was cold, and I was like really cranky and not in a good mood. And I used to time my, you know, I can time my cycle by just what's going on in my body. You know, I would feel ovulation, whatever. And I didn't realize I was so disconnected because of having C.
Oh yeah.
And I should have gotten like my period around Christmas. I didn't get it, but I wasn't alarmed because a lot of people said, you know, C messes with your cycle. So, you know, don't expect it to be on time or whatever. And I knew that too from miscarrying earlier that year. And then finally by like January 1st or 2nd, when I didn't have a cycle, I was like, okay, maybe I should just like check. And I did. I was pregnant. And so Liam's also a rainbow baby. And so when I finally got in for, you know, like the 8-week check or whatever the hell it is, I was like, so when did I conceive? Because I never got a cycle back. And she told me when I ovulated, and it was over like 12 days when I should have ovulated. So COVID completely threw everything off.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the other thing too. Liam is a rainbow baby. I was pregnant in March of 2021, and I lost that baby in May.
Wow.
But it's not the same baby, not the same soul, not this time anyway. It can, yeah, as you know, it can happen. Those babies come back, but for him, it was not.
It's so fascinating, again, astrology doing, pregnancy, or even looking at our children and like getting a little peek into like, who kind of, what is their personality, their energy, what will they become?
Yeah.
And it's really, I love that. And so I love everything that you offer, you do. There's so many amazing
Likewise.
things, that you're kind
Likewise.
of expanding into.
I always send people to your page because I do have a lot of women, and I mean, obviously you're the OG of Spirit Babies. So
Thank you.
I do have a lot of women interested and, you know, kind of, you know, on their own journeys. And I always send them to your page, and I say, you know, you should send her a message, whether it's, you know, program or a reading. I'm like, she's really, really thorough and deep and knowledgeable.
Very thorough.
Very thorough. Yeah. Very
Probably
thorough.
too thorough.
Well,
well, thank you for sharing that. But I want to hear we're coming to the end, and just ways that people can connect with you, and any upcoming things coming up, anything you feel like you want to share for the final words.
So, mostly on Instagram, because I feel like that's where everyone is these days. And you could always send me a DM at Erin the Urban Mermaid. That's usually where I am. I do have my website, www.erintheurbanmermaid.com. But I websites I just feel give you street cred at the end of the day, they make you official. Otherwise, I do have my own podcast, which is coming back. That's actually what's going to be going on this year. So I have a podcast called #Grounded in Glam, Modern Mystics and Motherhood. I have 2 seasons. I want to come back for a third around spring, around the Zodiac New Year. Because just I do well in Aries season because I'm a fire sign. But I want to focus on guests. So I'll be bringing a lot of guests on from all different walks of life, whether it's motherhood, spiritual, entrepreneurship, gifted people, all different types. Obviously, I want to have you on. I told you about it. It also goes on to my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel also had to take a little break after I had the baby because we said, you really have to know your boundaries, and you can't do everything. So the podcast will be coming back, but you can listen to the first 2 seasons on Apple and on Spotify or watch my YouTube channel. Other than that, right now I'm working with my monthly members pretty much. I am booking for birth chart readings. You just have to agree to my terms. Only because, so that's the thing I want to explain about birth chart readings. I do them in an email form because they will be your Bible. I have clients who print them out, who have them like starred on their emails because they're like, the short ones are 15 pages, because I go into everything and I take it apart and I dissect it so people understand, like, this is your soul's blueprint. This is what makes you you. This is a huge and should be a primary and foundational step in the healing journey, is at least getting to know yourself. So I am booking for birth charts and I do private readings. You just have to message me and again, be working with my schedule. I did want to bring my Healing Transcendence Empress Ascension back, but I do have something else that's been coming to me lately that I think needs my attention more. So when that comes out, I will let everyone know. And I also do Let's Talk Tarot, my tarot course once a year. But that'll probably be over the summer. That's a very fun course. I mean, tarot is a lot of fun, or it can be, and that's not one of my serious, in-depth, intense things. It's just for people who want to learn to read tarot, basically in 5D consciousness, and listen to my corny jokes about it.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Is that you shared it all. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you, Liam, for just chilling out.
Yeah.
Little magic baby is what I'm gonna call him.
He's definitely my calmest baby. The other 2 were not this good.
So, gonna have a house full of boys. Beautiful. I call it a beautiful chaos.
Yeah, it certainly is. Certainly is.
And thank you all for joining episode 159, February 17th, 2023, Psychic Motherhood and Parenting into the Fifth Dimensional Living. If you like my podcast, please subscribe, leave reviews, join my newsletter for meditation on soul-to-soul communication with baby. Please check out my book. It's a journal, Sacred Communication, a Spirit Baby journal, and Spirit Baby Oracle cards, Answers from Spirit Baby. And you can learn more about my services at spiritbabymedium.com, one-on-one, online programs, VIP retreats. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly. And please join my newsletter for Spirit Baby 101 video on tips and practices. Order my book, It's a Journal, Sacred Communication, a Spirit Baby journal, and cards for your healing journey, Spirit Baby Oracle cards, Soul Answers from Spirit Baby. To learn more about my services in supporting people all around the world in private one-on-one sessions, online classes, programs, and private VIP retreats, you can reach me at kellyanmeehan.com or spiritbabymedium.com, as well as on Instagram at spiritbabymedium, and email is spiritbabymedium@gmail.com. Remember to always listen to your heart communication, and your spirit child says hello. Thank you for joining.